It's time to share secrets and insights from fellow entrepreneurs. If you're looking to grow or start a business and you're a game changer, then keep listening to Avanti Entrepreneur for great advice from your host, Dave Mammano, America's entrepreneur coach.
Hey, Avanti Tribe, Dave Mammano here. Just want to thank our sponsor, Paychex. You know, Paychex, they make it simple for businesses of all sizes to pay and manage their team. They make payroll easy with employee pay options, including direct deposit, checks, pay cards, and so much more. Founded over 4 decades ago to relieve the complexity of running a business so that the owners can focus on what matters most. Above all else, and more than any other company, Paychex makes it simple. Visit AvantiEntrepreneurGroup.com. Go to our partner link and check them out. They're offering you a free month of payroll just for giving them a shot as an Avanti Tribe member. Give them a shot, folks. They really help this podcast to be possible. Really appreciate Paychex. Now, enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Dave Mammano, your host, and we are here to help entrepreneurial achievers and business owners and leaders move forward so that they can reach their potential. I do this by interviewing the nation's best business movers and shakers. Today, I have on the show Bill Troy. Bill, welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
It's funny. Usually in the pre-interview, I always confirm how to say the guest's name just to make sure I don't screw it up on the air. But I felt pretty confident with Bill Troy that I wasn't going to mess that up.
You know, people screw it up by Troy is memorable. They start calling me Troy as their first name. Yeah. And the funny thing is, it happens to my wife. And now I get it why people would call me Troy, but they'll actually call me Troy. Like, thanks, Troy. Like,
right.
So.
Excuse me? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, I'm in upstate New York, and we have a Troy, New York, not too far from here. So you ever been to Troy, New York?
I have not.
Yeah, it's outside Albany. So you should check it out. It's your hometown.
Get a picture in front of the sign.
Yes, exactly. So, Bill, I'm going to read your bio so we can learn a little bit more about you. Then we're going to dig into some good questions so we can get some good nuggets out of your brain for the Avanti family. So, Bill Troy is an Inc. 500 CEO and natural-born contrarian who, for 25 years, has helped global brands like Sony and Disney and Nestle see the world from a different perspective. As CEO of Civilis Marketing, Bill and his team have created a revolutionary approach to help companies initiate and nurture real relationships, and we'll talk about that in the modern world, while everyone else these days is focused on high volumes of superficial, spammy messaging. Civilis helps clients make deep, meaningful, individual connections with the people who are most important to a business's success. The REALationship's system helps companies solve problems with sales, recruitment, and employee retention. The results of this inch-wide, mile-deep approach continue to astound the Civilis Marketing clients. Other fun notes and antidotes about Bill, making me say antidotes. I never said that on the podcast. Antidotes about Bill. He is the author of Quicksand, How Online Marketing Will Destroy Your Business and the Unlikely Secret to Saving It. In Quicksand, Bill shows how high-volume automation tools like HubSpot will destroy the very relationships that you need for success. Instead, he shows how companies can and must use a different approach to initiating and nurturing relationships in today's business world. Can't wait to talk about that. He has run a marathon every year for 20 years and counting. God bless you. He is the president and 16-year member of the Entrepreneurs Organization in Columbus, Ohio, and it is a huge proponent of peer networks for entrepreneurs. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
As life-focusing tools, he has a jar filled with the number of beads equal to the number of days left between now and his 90th birthday. Each morning, he removes one bead and throws it away as a reminder that this day is precious, fleeting, and will never come again. Wow.
There you go. Heavy stuff to start with, right?
Goosebumps moment. I love that. I really love that. That's a good reminder that the wick is burning and it's getting shorter every day, which is kind of scary, right? So, or exciting, depending on how you how you put it in your head. So, Bill, we got. I definitely want to hear more about your story, but you know, really catching my attention with your contrarian advice about how online marketing, automated online marketing, is destroying your business. And, you know, to be honest with you, I kind of feel you. You know, I know when I get an email from that is automated, whether it's coming from HubSpot, Infusionsoft, one of these great, marketing tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can tell that it is an automated email, that it's not personal. And I agree with you. I tend to delete it right away without even reading it, because I don't feel that it's a personal customized email for me. Right. So tell me more about your philosophy about that. And, and how do I don't know if you're ready to give away all your trade secrets, but, maybe you could give us a taste of your secret sauce.
Sure.
How do I reach 1,000 customers without doing automated marketing? Right. I mean, That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
So we'd love to hear your thoughts on that as we start out.
Sure. Well, several ways to go, but let me start by saying that you don't need 1,000 customers, probably, right? Almost all businesses need 10 awesome customers, or maybe 100. I mean, how many customers does Boeing need to sell billions and billions of dollars a year? So I think that's the first mistake. It's a misnomer that a lot of businesses have fallen for, because we live in this high volume automated world where you think you need 5,000 people in your email newsletter in order to get, but you're still trying to get, 50 inquiries and then, 7 proposals and 3. So that's the first misnomer, is you don't need probably that many customers. When we go and do an analysis of what really drives companies, almost always it's a small number of really deep relationships. So just because people have invented tools that can crank out high volumes of things doesn't mean it's quality work, and that's the way you should build relationships. And in fact, as you just talked about, we all are blown off by that sort of thing. We all know it doesn't work, yet we just keep desperately thinking we'll just buy another list and send it to even more people. And what it really becomes, to use a, sort of a, locker room or bar room analogy, is it's almost like you're just trying to get lucky, right? I'm just going to say my pickup line to as many girls in the bar as I can, and maybe I'll get lucky tonight. Well, that is not how you get married, right? It's not how you build a lifelong relationship. One does not lead to the other. And we've just been sold this bill of goods by the marketing folks out there that it's about trying to get lucky with the perfect pickup line or subject line or clickbait or whatever. It does not lead to a relationship that you really want in the long run. So that's the danger of that sort of thing in a nutshell, is that it really takes you down a path that really destroys what you need.
So are you, in a nutshell, are you saying that, and this is what I do for the most part, so I'll be happy if you agree with me, is take the time.
Yes.
Does take time to write and call and be customized in your approach. So catching one fish at a time, or trying to catch one fish at a time, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, the first time you need to take is the time to pick the right people. That's where everybody's making a mistake. They think, I just want to talk to, and pick a title, right? CEOs of companies with 5 to 50 employees in a certain industry. And so I'll get as many of them as I can. But you don't need that. You need the 10 that are perfect customers for you. So it's first doing research to figure out who the right people are and how to get to them, how to make a connection. And then the personal effort that you go to build those relationships is worth it. That's the thing. If you start with the right people and focus on really building a relationship with them, it's worth that investment of time. One of the things we run into a lot with clients is that feels like it's not scalable because it's personal and one at a time. And so how do you scale that? Well, the way you scale that is to get bigger customers, right? Deeper relationships. And what we talk about too is, focusing on the people that can really move your business forward, and figuring out, for example, where have you gotten customers in the past? So many times we find our clients, they work for a certain company, and then they're not working for that company anymore, and they're still looking for another company to work for. And we'll say, well, who do you want to work for? And they give us the profile of their typical customer, and we'll say, okay, what about the company you worked for before? Did you work with anybody there that liked what you do? Oh yeah, there were like 5 or 6 people we worked with there. Well, have you kept up with what those people are doing, even though you're not working with that company anymore? Well, no, because we don't work with them anymore. They find out that half of those people have gone on to other companies that could buy from them, and they haven't kept up with those people who already knew them, while they're going out and buying a list of 1,000 complete strangers to fire off some email newsletter to. So it's really thinking about who knows you and what relationships you can work. And then it's a matter, lastly, of putting a process in place. Now, we're not big fans of automation, but we are huge, huge fans of process. It's a matter of keeping track of it, staying up on it, knowing where you're going in that relationship. You know, when we get involved with clients, we measure the depth of every relationship that you're at now and where you're trying to get to and what specific techniques will move you from here to there. If you're trying to build trust with someone, have you shared something, you know, with them that's a secret? In order for you want them to share a secret with you, have you done that? So that's a behavior you can do if you want to build trust with someone. That is a process, but it's still personal. So there are ways to do it. And one of the things that we really get excited about is that it's something that's actually possible more now than ever before, because the same online tools that allow you to automate the heck out of this and just fire out the shotgun stuff also give you the opportunity to become more intimate with people and learn what they really care about. So you can actually find commonalities with them better than ever before. So the same tools can be used to cut either way.
So are you talking about tools like Infusionsoft and HubSpot, et cetera?
Yeah, not as much, because they tend to be the chain buzzsaw automation thing. I'm thinking more like LinkedIn and social media, right? So take those channels, and instead of using them as broadcast channels to see how many people I can hit, use them as listening channels to find out what the people I really want to meet care about. You know, I would just say a simple example. Most people spend all their time at the top of someone's LinkedIn profile, look at their title and where they work and how much responsibility they have, where they can buy my product. I always say, scroll to the bottom. That's where the good stuff is. That's where they went to school. Those are the charities they support. Those are the authors they follow. And that's where you find something that they want to talk about with you. If you want to send someone an email, don't send them a message about where they work now and how you can help them. Send them a message about where they went to school or the charity they support, and you will get a response and you'll start a relationship.
That is great advice. You know, it's funny because, you know, I'm known to be a little humorous every now and then. And, you know, and so I put on my LinkedIn profile years ago as obviously a joke. I live in a town outside of Rochester, New York called Victor, New York, right? Yeah. And so as part of my, I forgot, awards, right? Awards and accomplishments. I put as an award, the best looking guy in Victor, New York, right? And, you know, we actually don't have that contest, but, you know, my mom, you know, awarded me that, right?
So there you go. Yeah.
So I put that as, you know, just as a little tongue in cheek. I get more comments on that than anything else, right? You know, and it is towards the bottom. And
there you go.
But it's just something that stands out, and I really like that thought. Is if you want to reach out to I get so many LinkedIn messages, you know, like, and I want to throw up. I'm like, oh my, do you actually think I'm interested in your website design services? Like, I'm not. Like, I have that covered, right? I've been an entrepreneur for 20 plus years, and you know, but if someone said, hey, Dave, saw that you went to UB and also saw that you are involved in Make-A-Wish and Junior Achievement, would love to talk to you about that because, you know, I love the Buffalo Bills and I'm involved in Make-A-Wish too.
There you go.
All right. I probably will say, all right, let's set up a quick call, you know?
Exactly. Well, and you know, the short version is, it's using the bar analogy too. If you're talking about yourself, no one cares. And that's what all these messages do, is talk about themselves. If you talk about what I care about, I'm replying. If you ask me, you know, if you went to UB, right, and you say, hey, I've got a son, he's looking at colleges and thinking of UB, what do you think? Oh, man, you're going to be all over that. You're going to totally respond in 2 seconds.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's all about being, and it's funny you say that because I think in the world of automation, some people get scared that they can't keep up, right? And I had Jeffrey Gitomer, who you probably have heard, the Little Red Book of Selling, the King of Sales, et cetera. I had him on my podcast, you know, a while ago now. I think it was over this last summer. And he said something great. He goes, people like get scared that they can't compete with Jeff Bezos. And he goes, guess what? Jeff Bezos isn't writing me a birthday card. Jeff Bezos isn't like delivering me donuts, you know, for breakfast. You know, Jeff Bezos isn't inviting me to his house for coffee. Like, I could do that stuff to my customers, right? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so we just say the simple example, or it's not that simple, the model is a relationship is a triangle. And what you're trying to do is find places where you and that other person share something that you both like. The same music, the same author, the same whatever. I mean, there are an infinite number of possibilities. And when you find commonalities, that's what people want to talk about. So that's what your job is, to find those commonalities. And when I say our clients are thrilled by it, we're able to get people indoors that they never thought was possible because they can find commonalities with that person. I promise you that you have people listening to this that are wanting to get into CEO suites, we need to get to the C level. And so they're just firing away and firing away. I can get them in there in 10 seconds if they write the right message. If they write to someone, the highest level people will respond to you with the right message, something they care about.
So I bet you hear people say, well, people don't do that anymore, right? And I would say, and I'm sure you would say, that's exactly why you should do it.
Yeah, you completely stand out. Exactly. That's one of the reasons we're getting such amazing results with people is because, oh my God, it was so simple. I just, asked about whatever and they responded. Yeah. Because no one does that.
Well, it's funny. I still write handwritten notes, right? Thank you notes, etc. You know why? Because nobody does it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
When I go get my mail, my company mail, and oh my God, if I see that the envelope is handwritten to me, I'm opening up that first, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And then if I find out if that is automated, because sometimes they have these little things that look like it's handwritten, then I get pissed off.
Yeah, right.
If it's really handwritten. I'm like, Yeah. When I had my first company, Next Step U, we had about 15 employees. And one of the things we did, kind of a culture thing, is when it was one of my employees' kids' birthday, we would buy a card and my whole team would sign it. Right? Happy birthday, Nate. Can't believe you're 9. I remember when you were born, right? So every person in the company would sign the card. We put a little gift card in there to the movies, right? And then we'd mail it like snail mail, handwrite, Nate. And Nate never gets a handwritten note in the mail, right?
Yeah.
And so Nate would say, "Oh, mommy, I love where you work," right? So we're making Nate's day a little self-serving too, I guess, right? Nate.
Sure. I mean, ultimately, you're trying to build a relationship in sales to sell. But you're trying to, make a mutually beneficial relationship. And one of the things you just mentioned too, that we talk to clients a lot about, there's a lot of focus today on electronic messaging. Okay. What email should I send or whatever? But you just mentioned handwritten note cards and birthday cards. And one of the things that we work a lot with our clients on, a big part of what we do is helping people know what to say to someone at the right moment. This is the time to say such and such or such and such. So we know this is what's going on in the life of that person that you want to make a connection with. So now's the moment to ask them about that thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes in our case, a client themselves is the delivery mechanism. It's not an email. They're going to a networking mixer and we tell them all the things that are going on in the lives, the people they're going to run into there that they want a relationship, deepen their relationship with.
Yeah.
And when you go to talk to someone at a conference and you see them at the mixer, you don't say, "What's going on with you?" You go up and say, "Did I see that you did that bike race? Oh my God, I've always wanted to do that." You're in, you're done. It's, slam dunk. You have a relationship with them. So just knowing what that person's doing in their life and caring about them, even if it's in person, that's great too. It's not just an email.
No, I'm so glad we're talking. I've been drinking your Kool-Aid for years,
Yeah, we all do it intuitively, but for some reason, when we get online, especially, we lose that, that sense of what really works with other people. So,
And I think to your point is asking these personalized, customized questions, but doing it in a sincere, genuine way.
Yeah.
And then really listening for the answer, right? Because some people will start out right, like, "Hey Dave, how'd you do in that marathon?" And then they're not really listening, right? They're just, and it's like, and I'm going to raise my hand. I probably used to be guilty of that, where I love to talk and I had feedback. I did a CEO review years ago with my employees, and the number one feedback was that I was pretending to listen. Right.
Yeah.
And that was a shocker to me, because in my mind, I thought I was listening, but they could tell that my little ADD mind was moving on to something else quickly.
Right.
So I really make an effort now to, listen and stay focused on the answer,
Yes.
I think I annoyed them, because I'd be like, "Hey, how was your weekend?" And they'd be like, "Oh, good." I'd be like, No. Like, how was it? What'd you do? And they're like, "All right, Dave." I'm like, "No, I want to know."
Yeah. Well, so when we're working with folks, we can help with some of that, capture that, remind you later. Remember, you talked about such and such last time, but it absolutely has to be something where you really do care about those people. You may be forgetful and may be able to help you remember things, or maybe able to tell you something that's going on in their life to make a connection. But if you don't really care about people, even using our service just becomes, manipulation that doesn't really work over the long run. So, and then the other thing you touched on earlier too about your employee, this works just as well with your team members. I mean, if you're trying to hold on to people, there's nothing like knowing what's going on in their life. And if you have 100 or 200 people working under you, you can't know all of that yourself, but you can let them, find ways to show them you care about them. Maybe it's us or maybe it's somebody else on your team that helps you know what's happening in their lives, but that's huge for retention.
Yeah.
No,
it's great. You could do it. You could do it with customers, employees, vendors. It's always good to pick vendors happy too, right?
Wherever you want to stand out on the list of people that someone cares about.
Yeah. Who was it that said, it was Brian Tracy, everybody's favorite radio station is WIIFM. What's in it for me, right?
Perfect. That's exactly it. Yep.
People, you said it before. People don't give a crap. What you want, right? Yep. If you could relate it to the results of what you're looking for, then they'll listen, right? So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So I want to learn more about this is all great stuff, but so specifically, I want to learn more about what you do to help clients, some of your services.
Yeah.
So in your bio, I read something called, and I tried to emphasize it instead of relationships, it's REALationships, right? Yeah. So you actually spell out REAL and then relationships, so REALationships instead of relationships. So tell me, and it's trademarked. I see a little trademark thing on there. So you own that.
Yeah.
So tell us about that program and how you help companies with that.
Well, so that is, the systematic service version of what we've been talking about here. So as a company, we help other companies, whether that's the leaders of the company or the sales executives in the company, build a process out of nurturing and deepening the relationships that are most important to them. You've got to identify them first and then working through it systematically. And where we really fill a gap is when either there's a team that hasn't had a good history of building relationships. They've been very, tactical, manipulative, fire away, and they really need to learn a process for deepening relationships. In fact, how relationships are actually deepened. And that can happen, for example, when you have maybe a CEO where the CEO built the business on their own relationships and they're having difficulty getting the next generation to understand how we do this here in our company. And they're frustrated because people just want to, let's just buy some AdWords. Like, no, let's go to coffee with somebody,
Yeah.
So there's that. And then also how to turn that into action. So sometimes people understand exactly how relationships built. And like I said, maybe it's a CEO or a manager who's done that in the course of their career, but now they're just too busy to get it all done. And so we can actually do that work for them and watch what's happening in the lives of the people they care about and remind them it's time to touch base with so-and-so. And here's what, you might want to say this time. And then of course it becomes from them and it needs to be authentic to them, but we can be that memory, the process to keep it going and know that it's on track to get there. And it works really well in situations where sales, for example, sales situations where you need to build a relationship well before you get the opportunity to sell something. They have to trust you before they're ever going to give you a chance. Or when there's no chance to sell them anything now, maybe they're in a contract with a competitor of yours for the next 2 years. And so normally a salesperson's going to blow that off and not pay any more attention to those people because they can't buy now. And that's how I get paid, is whether people buy now. So for the next 2 years, that prospect gets no attention because, I can't sell them anything. So we would step in and help you build a relationship with them besides on issues besides what you sell, so that you're, a close, trusted relationship with them 2 years from now when they're ready to buy. That's what's missing a lot of times in our high pressure, high volume sales world. No one can take the time to invest in those relationships for the future. So we can kind of plug in and backstop that to make sure that you can harvest that 2 years from now versus suddenly then 2 years from now trying to instantly become their best friend.
That's awesome. Now, are you working with bigger companies, smaller companies, or everywhere in between?
Yeah, everywhere in between. It's different solutions we're solving for different companies. For large, corporate clients, we tend to work in two areas. One is the retention of employees, where you've got management that has a lot of people under them and they're just too busy to stay in touch with the people who even work with them, and they cannot afford to lose people these days. And also in recruiting, it's really more powerful. You can hire a recruiter to go get you people, but it's way more powerful if that recruit hears from the hiring manager, the person they're going to work for. But of course, that person doesn't have time to do that, but we can do that for them, kind of thing. And then also in large corporate clients, we're working where they have, often it's territory organized sales teams where someone has a territory with too many prospects in the territory to actually get to know everyone personally. So you have a limited number of people you can meet. Everyone in Louisiana, for example, is your potential client. So we can be a bolt-on to give them the chance to manage more relationships personally than they could just on their own. And then for the smaller clients, like I mentioned, where the CEO EO or Avanti size business where the CEO is the primary rainmaker, we can help basically turn that CEO into a process. A lot of times those CEOs sell intuitively. It's how we do it. It's the values that we started this company with, but that doesn't get transferred to the rest of the team and the rest of the company where everyone else can follow that. So we kind of say, well, here's exactly why, Joe was in Rotary. Here's what's happening because they volunteered at the Hunger Task Force. This is what's happening with those relationships. So we just turn all that into a process so that those relationships can really pay off in the long run.
That's fantastic. And, I'm so happy you're doing this and you're validating what's in my gut, because sometimes I feel like, oh my God, am I getting old? Because I want to do this old school stuff while the whole world is moving towards this automation. But in my gut, I'm saying, it doesn't work for me. So why is it going to work for other people? I have built businesses in the past on the fact that people like me, and they know that if it's a good fit, if my product can help them, that, I'm going to do a good job for them and I'm going to be there, and I remember, I built a great personal brand in the education business. I had a national magazine for high school students, and colleges would advertise. And I would go into these education conferences, high school guidance counselors, college admissions counselors, I sounds like I'm bragging, but my God, they love me. We had great relationships, because I had a product that helped them, but I also took the time to know them, to, once, twice a year, travel to their school, take them out to lunch, go to their conferences, remember their birthdays. And so all the automation in the world, would never have done what I did, right? So,
so the trick is, if you just, let's say immediately someone says, well, that's too much work. We can't afford to do that for every client. Well, then that just means your clients are too small. You need to get bigger clients. That's where we would say, don't go least common denominator and say, well, I can't afford that for each of my clients, so I'm going to treat them worse. You got to just get clients where it's worth the investment. And let me give you one other anecdote that I heard recently that just really blew me away about whether the world is going to be more automated or not. Because I think that's the feeling. But that's something that's put out by the people to build automation tools. That's one of the HubSpot, mantras, is that the world's going to AI and automation, and that's where it's all. That's because that's what they sell. All right. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that's the truth. That's like asking, the chainsaw guy how to cut up your turkey. He's going to figure out how to use a chainsaw to do it. Right? So you ask a chef who wants a good turkey, not a chainsaw salesman. But let me tell you an anecdote I heard recently. I heard a study that was done here in Columbus called the Columbus Trust Study, where they talked with business people about how you can build trust with them. And it was interesting generationally what was important to people. For baby boomers, it was about credentials. It was about, have you done this before? I just want to see results. And if you've done it, then I'll trust you to do it. For Gen X, it was more about values. Do your values match my values? But for millennials, and, there's a lot of people that talk about millennials and how they're, whatever, they're a different generation, but they absolutely are. The number one thing about building trust with millennials is whether you care about them personally, whether they feel like they have a connection with you. So they're going to be buying everything that we sell in the next 10 years. And if you want to sell to a millennial, you have to make a personal connection. And these automated tools are not going to do that. So the idea that automation is the future, I think automation's over. Going forward, it's going to be, how can you make a personal, intimate connection with a potential customer, especially if they're a millennial? You're not selling them anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So the old school is the new school again.
It's back. Absolutely. Well, you know what? Yeah. They haven't changed DNA. Just because somebody invented these tools doesn't mean that someone on the other end isn't still a human being.
So important.
Wants to be cared of. Yes. Right.
At the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Just a human connection, right?
Yeah.
And I don't care how, George Jetson the world gets. We still want to be belly to belly with somebody, having a beer, having some coffee, and knowing that they care, right? So this is great. So I guess before we wrap up here, I can't believe we've been already talking for almost half an hour here, but just because I love what we're talking about. If what would be, so you're sitting down with an entrepreneur, they've grown their business to, $500,000, $1 million, and they're starting to freak out. They're, that, frenetic entrepreneur that, builds it with their gut and then starts to, get lost. And so you're sitting down as a friend, I guess, to this person. What are you going to tell that person? What are the next steps that they should take to grow their business to that next level?
Well, they have to figure out, it's the old adage where if it requires you to do it, then, it's a job. It's not a business. So the business itself has to start to have a life of its own and survive and thrive without you. It's like a child, right? Eventually it has to be able to live and stand on its own. And so what happens is the entrepreneur starts it and puts all kinds of energy and expertise into it to get it going. But there are usually some pieces, and a lot of times sales is a big part of that because they have these relationships where they can't disengage because the entity, the child, the business can't survive without that constant infusion of sales and relationships. So what we would say is you have to figure out how the company can do what you've done when you're not there. And that is a lot of times by systematizing what you have done, figure out exactly how you built these relationships, and then get the company to be able to do it without you. And then it's that's where it can really scale up.
I love it. So you definitely are a contrarian, and I love the fact that you are. So Bill Troy, everybody, I want to give his website a little shout out, civilismarketing.com. And it's basically civil is marketing is probably the best way to describe it, right? But I'm saying that right, though, Civilis?
Yeah, Civilis is Latin for civilized. So it's civilized marketing,
but
it's spelled like civil is. Yeah, sure.
I love it. You're in Columbus, Ohio. And if you want to learn more about Bill and his company, go, and we'll have everything in the show notes. And I would also suggest you buy his book. Once again, it's called Clicksand, which I think is a great name, How Online Marketing Will Destroy Your Business and the Unlikely Secret to Saving It. So very excited about that. And Bill, you just seem like a fascinating guy. We didn't even talk about your 20 marathons and all that great stuff.
That's just running one step in front of the other a lot. So
yeah. Well, I've run a few half marathons.
There you go.
I'm actually challenged myself. There's a Rochester, marathon in the fall. You could do the half or full.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, challenging myself this year to do the full. So I will
there
keep
you go. All right.
Keep you posted. Yep. I might be relying on you for some tips. So thank you.
Happy to do it.
So Bill, and any other ways to reach out and learn about you and get in touch with you?
Well, if they want to send email, it's Bill at Civilis Marketing. And then also the book. And if I do speaking on the Clicksand topic and also on the REALationshipsTM topic, that's at billtroy.com. But civilismarketing.com is a great place to start.
Very good. Bill, thank you so much. I really like what you're doing, and I'm a huge fan. And like I said, I'm drinking the Bill Troy Kool-Aid for sure. And you've made me happy to know that, darn it, I am right. So thank you. Thank you for validating that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah. And thank you, Avanti listeners, for listening. Thanks for being a member of the Avanti family. You can always learn more about Avanti at AvantiEntrepreneur.com. In fact, please go there. We have all our past podcast episode show notes. And we just posted recently a link to our event coming up October 16th, 17th, and 18th. It's a 3-day Avanti Live Summit. Got some great speakers. We have Ellen Latham, who is the founder of Orange Theory Fitness, and some great other speakers. So we'd love for you to come to that as well at AvantiEntrepreneur.com. Make it a great day and stay awesome.
Thank you for listening. Head over to AvantiEntrepreneurGroup.com for show notes and more helpful advice from entrepreneurs like you. Continue to find your entrepreneurial rhythm at the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast.